We need to have a real, unfiltered conversation about what's happening in Atlanta, the so-called Atlanta curse. Because, at this point, it's more than just a pattern. It's a disturbing cycle, a grim deja vu that keeps playing out like a script from a crime thriller. Almost like a twisted plot. Every few months, sometimes every year without fail, we lose yet another iconic Atlanta rapper. It's as if an unseen force is pulling the strings, ensuring that tragedy never strays too far from the city's hip-hop scene. And what's even more unsettling, these losses aren't just tragic. They're surreal, riddled with eerie coincidences and unsettling circumstances. The kind of stories that make you pause, shake your head, and wonder if there's something bigger at play.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith, Atlanta Homicide Commander. We're here to discuss two events this evening. The first being from the 200 block of William Nye Drive. In Zone 3, officers responded to a dispute with a weapon. It was advised in the call remarks that shots were fired and a female was dragged back into the location. Once officers arrived, they knocked on the door. A male opened the door and immediately shut the door on the officers. The officers then established a perimeter. During the process of establishing the perimeter, two males fled out of the rear of the house. One male returned back into the house. The other male jumped two fences as he was fleeing. When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. Officers rendered aid and he was transported to Grady Hospital where he was pronounced deceased. That male is going to be a 39-year-old male out of Atlanta. Just to be very clear, the injury that was sustained was not via the officers on scene. It was when the male was fleeing. The second
It's just a strange situation. So police say that they were called out here for a shots fired call, but when they got here, they didn't find any evidence of a shooting. So the situation that we're hearing about, we're hearing that a 39-year-old man, Kenneth Bailey, is dead. That's according to the medical examiner, and a loved one on the scene is the one who confirmed that that was rapper Young Scooter. Police say they were called by someone saying they heard shots and then saw a woman being pulled into a home. Well, when police arrived, they say they didn't find a woman, but they did have a man open the door to that home and then close it in the officer's face. A lieutenant tells us two men then ran out the back door. The officers say that one of the men returned to the house, but the other one, Young Scooter, jumped two fences, and that's when he was fatally hurt.
Just to be very clear, the injury that was sustained was not via the officers on scene. It was when the male was fleeing. There was no indication of anyone being shot. This appears that there was, when he fell, some type of fracture injury to the leg.
Take King Von, for example. Davon Daquan Bennett was more than just a rapper. He was a rising star, a voice of the streets with a loyal following. But his life was cut short in a violent showdown outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge on November 6th, 2020. What started as a tense standoff between two groups escalated into a deadly exchange of gunfire. Bullets flying in the night, chaos erupting in seconds. When the smoke cleared, Vaughn lay lifeless, another name added to Atlanta's growing list of hip-hop casualties. Then there was Takeoff, a tragedy that felt like something straight out of a noir film. Wrong place, wrong time, caught in the crossfire of a so-called freak accident. But let's be real, what are the chances? How does one of the most influential rappers of his generation get taken out like that? A simple dice game turned deadly. a moment of laughter turned into a crime scene, another funeral for the culture to mourn. The streets of Atlanta are turning into a breeding ground for these tragic endings. And if we needed more proof, just look at what happened to Rich Homie Quan. An apparent overdose, one that, by all accounts, could have been prevented. But instead of getting help, he was left unresponsive, his so-called people either unwilling or too scared to intervene. It's the kind of betrayal that makes you wonder, was it negligence or was it something more sinister? And now, today we wake up to yet another gut-wrenching headline. Young Scooter gone. And this one, it might be the most shocking yet. Almost immediately, the internet exploded with reports claiming he was shot and killed by the police. The rumor mill started spinning. Conspiracy theories took on a life of their own. But for those who actually took the time to read the official report, the Rayall story tells a different tale. Once again, speculation and fear cloud the truth, blurring the lines between fact and fiction. At what point do we step back and ask, what the hell is happening in Atlanta? This was supposed to be the Black Mecca, the heart of Black excellence, a city that represents culture, success, and resilience. But instead, the streets are turning into a war zone, a place where legends keep falling one by one. Is Atlanta on the verge of becoming the next Chicago? A city where hip-hop and homicide go hand in hand, where talent is silenced before it ever reaches its full potential. The lights of Atlanta may still shine bright, but beneath the glitz and glamour, the shadows are growing longer. And if something doesn't change soon, the so-called Atlanta curse might just claim its next victim before we even have time to grieve the last. March 29th, 2025, what should have been a day of celebration turned into a tragic and puzzling nightmare for the hip-hop community. Atlanta rapper Young Scooter, born Kenneth Edward Bailey, was pronounced dead on his 39th birthday following what authorities are calling a freak accident, while allegedly fleeing from the police. But as the details unfold, the circumstances surrounding his death seem to raise more questions than answers. The streets of Atlanta are no stranger to high-profile tragedies, but this one hits differently. Young Scooter, a rapper who built his name alongside industry giants like Future and Gucci Mane, had long been a respected figure in Southern hip-hop. His gritty storytelling and street wisdom made him a voice for the culture. And yet, on the very day that marked another year of his life, his story came to an abrupt and mysterious end. The chase, the wound, and the mystery hospitalization. According to reports, Scooter was involved in a confrontation with the Atlanta Police Department that escalated into a pursuit. Details are scarce, but sources indicate that at some point during the chase, the rapper suffered a leg wound. Whether the injury was from a fall, a collision, or something more sinister remains unclear. What is confirmed, however, is that Scooter was transported to the Grady Marcus Trauma Center, a facility known for handling the city's most severe cases. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office reported that he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. While initial speculation ran wild, whispers of gunshots, police brutality, and foul play flooding social media, officials were quick to shut down rumors that he had been fatally shot by law enforcement.
These two incidents are not related in any shape or form, and that's what we have for you.
Can we confirm that it's the known rapper that goes by the name of Young Scooter, the 39-year-old?
We cannot, at this point, that's a function of the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office once they notify the next of kin, so we're a little premature on that.
And the 42-year-old, you guys confirmed this originally said the man was deceased. He is not deceased?
Correct. Grady was able to bring him back in the trauma room where he was taken to the operating room and is now in ICU.
So what was the discussion, what led to the 39-year-old having to flee from police? Can you give us a little bit more detail, because this seems, what exactly led to him running away?
So again, there was a 911 call of dispute with shots fired and a female being dragged back into the residence. When officers arrived, a male initially opened the door, closed the door on the officer's face without communicating completely. That's when the officers established a perimeter and the two males fled. Why they fled, obviously, we can't speak for them. So it's still an active investigation.
Was the woman involved?
So we were not able to locate a female. We ended up with two males and the decedent.
Was the, and you said the dispute was started in a car, a moving car?
No, outside of the residence.
Outside of the residence, and then a woman was dragged back into the...
That's what was reported. We have not been able to substantiate any of that, which is also a part of our investigation.
And then when he jumped over the fence, the one that, what wound would, I guess, did he shoot himself? Did he...
No, there was no indication of anyone being shot. This appears that there was, when he fell, some type of fracture injuries of the leg, which caused the bleeding.
Clarify, this wasn't any involvement with the land.
Correct. There's no, in neither one of these cases were officers involved in shooting at all.
Will your agency be investigating everything internally, or do you guys?
So we do have, just because of the confusion, we have the GBI that's going to come out to the 39,
Okay,
location.
so GBI will come out.
Correct.
But that one started with a 911 call of a dispute.
Correct.
That's why you guys got there, and then...
Dispute,
dragging
shots
the woman.
fired, woman being drugged back into the residence.
And not to add confusion to it, but switching back to Lucky Street and Mills Street, 42-year-old from Charlotte.
North
Any
Carolina.
Idea?
Late Friday night, Atlanta Police Lieutenant Andrew Smith held a press conference to address the growing speculation. His statement was concise, but left room for doubt. We can confirm that Mr. Bailey was not shot by Atlanta PD officers. His injuries and cause of death remain under investigation, and we urge the public not to spread misinformation. But even with that clarification, the official explanation remains unsettling. How exactly did he sustain the leg wound? If it wasn't a gunshot, then what? Was it a crash? A struggle? An attempt to evade capture gone horribly wrong? A suspicious silence. The fact that young Scooter was hospitalized before his death only deepens the mystery. Witnesses claim he was rushed into emergency care under vague circumstances, with no clear statement on what led to his rapid decline. Those closest to him haven't spoken out yet, leaving fans and fellow artists grasping for answers. And then there's the timing, his birthday. A man who spent years navigating the treacherous landscape of the rap industry, surviving the pitfalls that claimed so many before him, suddenly meets his fate on the one-day mint for celebration. A freak accident? Maybe, but Atlanta has seen too many of these coincidences before. This is the city that lost King Von in a hail of bullets outside a club. Takeoff in an absurdly tragic crossfire. A city where rap stars don't just fall, they're taken, whether by violence, overdose, or in this case, something even harder to explain. As the autopsy report looms, the hip-hop world holds its breath. The city of Atlanta, once a sanctuary of black excellence, now feels like a crime scene in an endless, unsolved case. And the biggest question remains, what really happened to young Scooter? Kenneth Edward Bailey, known to fans as Young Scooter, was pronounced dead at Grady Marcus Trauma Center on his 39th birthday. His sudden and suspicious passing now raising more questions than answers. The tragic final hours of young Scooter. Atlanta police unravel a mystery. March 29th, 2025, Atlanta, Georgia a night that should have been filled with celebration instead became the setting for yet another unsettling tragedy in the hip-hop world. A routine call turns deadly. It started with a call, one that set off a chain of events leading to Scooter's final moments. According to Lieutenant Andrew Smith of the Atlanta Police Department, officers responded to a 911 call regarding a dispute involving a firearm at a residence in southeast Atlanta. The details of that initial call were already grim. Reports of gunshots and a woman being forcefully dragged back inside after attempting to flee. When officers arrived, a man opened the front door, only to slam it shut in their faces. Sensing a volatile situation, police quickly established a perimeter around the home. Moments later, two men bolted from the rear of the house. One hesitated, turning back inside. The other took off into the night, scaling fence after fence in a desperate escape. That man, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, was young Scooter. The chase and mysterious leg injury. Scooter, known for his street smarts and survival instincts, made his move, leaping over two fences in a bid to evade police. But something went wrong. When officers caught up to him on the other side, he was already down, his leg severely injured. Was it a miscalculated landing? A hidden hazard on the other side? Or did something else happen during those crucial moments? Smith was quick to deny rumors that Scooter had been shot by police, stating in a late-night press conference. Just to be very clear, the injury that was sustained was not via the officers on scene. It was when the male was fleeing. Still, the details remain vague. What kind of injury could be so severe that it led to his hospitalization and ultimate death? Rushed to the trauma center, but too late. Paramedics arrived swiftly, transporting Scooter to Grady Marcus Trauma Center, the same hospital where countless victims of Atlanta's violent streets have been rushed before. Despite the medical team's efforts, he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Meanwhile, the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office has yet to release an official cause of death, confirming only that an autopsy will be conducted. Until then, speculation runs rampant. The chilling timing of his death. Adding another eerie layer to the tragedy, Scooter's Instagram stories were active just hours before his death, with the rapper reposting birthday messages from friends and fans. No one could have imagined that by the end of the night, those posts would become a memorial. For fans, the news is devastating. Young Scooter wasn't just another rapper. He was a veteran in the Atlanta hip-hop scene. His career took off in 2012 when he signed with Future's Free Band's label, later dropping the Free Bricks 2 mixtape alongside Gucci Mane. His music carried the weight of the streets, his lyrics narrating a life shaped by struggle, survival, and success.
Let these folks know.
Oh, I got something going on.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, what? ESTG album just dropped. Young Scooter on that bit, boy. Yeah, sir. Slam dunk, yeah, sir. That way, millionaire shit, boy. God damn, that free band shit. ESTG.
What about that G6 kicking in?
Yeah, that G6 don't kick in, yeah.
Nigga, shut
Man, come on, man. Get out of our man, bro. Make me sick.
Yeah.
Oh, well. ESTG album just dropped. Young Scooter on that slam dunk, man. Yes, sir. That way.
What's Sonny talking about?
Son ain't talking about that. But you heard what I just said. ESTG album. Just drop Young Scooter on.
And now, just like that, another Atlanta legend is gone. What really happened? As the investigation unfolds, one thing is certain. The streets of Atlanta have claimed another one of their own. The circumstances surrounding young Scooter's death remain murky, leaving fans, friends, and fellow artists demanding answers. Was his death truly a freak accident, or is there more to the story than what's being told? For now, the hip-hop world waits. Another name added to a growing list of fallen stars. Another voice silenced before its time. And in the city once considered the Black Mecca, the shadows of tragedy continue to stretch longer with each passing year. The industry mourns. Tributes pour in for young Scooter as Atlanta grapples with another loss. The hip-hop world is reeling. Kenneth Edward Bailey, better known as Young Scooter, is gone. His life cut short under circumstances that remain clouded in uncertainty. As the news spread, shockwaves rippled through the music industry, with artists and fans alike struggling to process the sudden loss of yet another Atlanta legend. A city in mourning, a culture in shock. Tributes flooded social media as artists who came up alongside Scooter paid their respects. Playboy Cardi, known for his elusive persona, kept his words brief but powerful, taking to Instagram with a simple, heartbreaking post. I grew up on this shit, SMH, R.I.P. Migos Quavo, who collaborated with Scooter in the past, shared a more cryptic yet deeply emotional response. 2 heartbroken emojis alongside the words. I understand. Hip-hop veteran Lloyd Banks turned to X, formerly Twitter, to express his grief, writing, "Rest in peace, young Scooter." Even DJ Academics, one of hip-hop's most controversial media figures, broke the news to his massive following, sharing a rest in peace tribute post. It's a painful reminder of how often these tributes are written. Another rapper gone too soon. Another wave of posts, another trending hashtag, another candlelight vigil. From Walterboro to Atlanta, the rise of young Scooter. Scooter's story was one of perseverance and raw talent. Born in Walterboro, South Carolina, on March 28, 1986, he moved with his family to Atlanta at just 9 years old. It was in Atlanta that he found his passion for rap and, more importantly, his lifelong friendship with Future. By 2012, his breakout hit Columbia was taking over the streets, a track that became a regional anthem and cemented him as a force in the trap music scene. That same year, he officially signed with Future's Free Bands label, aligning himself with some of the biggest names in Atlanta hip-hop. Scooter's collaborations read like a who's who of the genre's elite. 2014, he teamed up with Future, Juicy J, and Young Thug for the underground hit D.I. Dollar Function. 2016, he linked up with Quavo and Offset Amigos on Young Thug's Go Up. 2018, he contributed to Jet Lag alongside Future and Juice WRLD, a track that climbed the Billboard charts. Unlike many of his peers, Scooter prided himself on his freestyle-heavy approach, much like Gucci Mane, delivering bars straight from the mind without ever writing them down. His last moments, a birthday that turned tragic. Hours before the world learned of his passing, Scooter was still engaging with fans on Instagram, reposting birthday wishes. It was supposed to be a day of celebration, his 39th birthday, yet fate had other plans. What started as a police response to reports of gunfire and a woman being dragged back into a house spiraled into a chaotic pursuit. When the doors slammed shut in the officers' faces, the house was surrounded. Two men made a run for it. One returned inside. The other jumped 2 fences trying to escape. That man was Scooter. When officers found him on the other side, he was already down, his leg severely injured. Minutes later, he was rushed to Grady Marcus Trauma Center. Despite medical efforts, he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Lieutenant Andrew Smith of the Atlanta PD shut down early speculation that Scooter was shot by officers, but the details surrounding his fatal injury remain unclear. An autopsy is pending, but the uncertainty only deepens the sorrow. Another name added to the list. This was supposed to be the Black Mecca, a city of opportunity, a place where legends are made. But for too many Atlanta rappers, it has become a city where careers and lives end too soon. Young Scooter's name now joins a long, painful list of who died in Atlanta. King Von, Takeoff, Trouble, Lil Marlowe, Bankroll Fresh, Shawty Low. A city known for birthing some of the greatest talents in hip-hop is also becoming known for burying them. And so the cycle continues. The tributes, the memorials, the unanswered questions. What really happened that night? How did a simple leg injury turn fatal? And how many more times will we have to write these stories before something changes? Reports initially claimed that a 42-year-old man was shot and killed, but young Scooter is 39 years old, making it clear that he was not the victim. Fortunately, the real story has now been revealed. Atlanta police had to rush to a press conference to clarify the situation because people were on the verge of rioting, believing that young Scooter had been killed by law enforcement. Tensions escalated quickly, with group calls reportedly organizing protests downtown. However, at the press conference, police detailed what actually happened. Authorities responded to a call from the 200 block of William Nye Drive in Zone 3 regarding a dispute involving a weapon. The 911 caller reported that shots were fired and that a woman had been dragged back inside a residence. When officers arrived, they knocked on the door, but a man opened it briefly before slamming it shut. The officers then established a perimeter around the house. During this process, 2 men fled through the back of the house. One of them returned inside, while the other, identified as young Scooter, continued running. It remains unclear why he fled, as the police had not yet communicated why they were there. Perhaps he feared a raid or other legal trouble due to his involvement in drug trafficking. Young Scooter was a well-known figure in Atlanta's underground, allegedly operating on a large scale in the heroin trade. According to police, no officers pursued Scooter with force. He reportedly tried to jump a fence, sustained a leg injury, and was later found by officers on the other side. Officers claimed they rendered medical aid before transporting him to the hospital, where he later died from internal bleeding. There were no reports of gunfire or use of force by the police, raising suspicions about the exact cause of his death. Many find it hard to believe that a simple leg injury could lead to fatal internal bleeding, especially with modern medical care. Adding to the confusion, the initial 911 call mentioned a woman being dragged back inside the house, but when police arrived, they found no woman and no weapons. This has led many to question whether the situation was a swatting incident or some other form of setup. Atlanta police have yet to confirm the deceased's identity, as the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office must complete its official process, including notifying next of kin. While many suspect it was young Scooter, the lack of an official confirmation has only fueled speculation. The situation is tragic, and many in the hip-hop community have expressed their grief. Young Scooter was not only a respected rapper, but also a family man. His recent falling out with longtime friend and collaborator Rallo remains unresolved, adding to the heartbreak of his untimely death. Rallo, clearly devastated, shared his regret over not making amends before Scooter's passing. The Atlanta rap scene has been mourning, with artists like Quavo and even Playboi Carti paying their respects. Many fans also acknowledge that Young Scooter played a key role in shaping Atlanta's hip-hop landscape and helped introduce them to artists like Future. The strangest part of this entire situation is that, if the police are telling the truth, Young Scooter's death was a freak accident. Unlike other tragedies in the hip-hop world, there is no one to retaliate against. This reality highlights the mindset of many in the streets, where violence is often seen as a way to process grief. In this case, however, there is no clear enemy, just an inexplicable loss. As this story develops, more details will emerge, but for now, the circumstances surrounding Young Scooter's death remain puzzling. Rest in peace to Young Scooter, a significant figure in Atlanta's music and culture. His legacy will not be forgotten. The music lives on, but the man, gone. Rest in peace, Young Scooter. The story of Young Scooter's tragic death, along with the pattern of violence and loss within Atlanta's hip-hop community, serves as a profound reminder of several life lessons that go beyond the surface of what might initially appear as a series of isolated incidents. These lessons touch on the nature of fame, the environment surrounding many hip-hop artists, the role of media and misinformation, and the importance of making wiser decisions in life. Here's a deeper dive into the lessons we can learn from this tragedy. First lesson: the cycle of violence in hip-hop. One of the most glaring lessons from the tragic deaths of rappers like King Von, Takeoff, Bankroll Fresh, and now Young Scooter is the persistent cycle of violence that seems to plague the hip-hop community in certain urban centers, especially in cities like Atlanta. It's as though, despite the success and fame, these artists are never truly able to escape the violence that surrounds them. This repeated loss isn't just a pattern. It's a deeply disturbing cycle that reflects broader societal issues, such as systemic inequality, street culture, and the difficulties of overcoming past struggles. This lesson urges us to acknowledge that success doesn't always guarantee safety. In many cases, these artists are not just contending with their personal demons, but also with environments that encourage violent and destructive behaviors, sometimes exacerbated by the lifestyle that comes with fame. The takeaway here is that there's a critical need for change, whether it's through better community outreach, mentorship, or a rethinking of how we, as a society, support young people, particularly those coming from disadvantaged backgrounds. This tragedy also emphasizes that breaking the cycle of violence requires collective effort from the community, the artists themselves, and those who influence them, including the industry. If things don't change, the cycle will continue and more lives will be lost. Second lesson: the impact of environment and street ties. Hip-hop, especially in its origins, has been deeply tied to stories of struggle, survival, and resilience. Many of these artists, like Young Scooter, come from impoverished and crime-ridden neighborhoods where gang culture, drug dealing, and street violence are commonplace. Even after achieving significant success in the music industry, they often remain connected to those environments due to family, loyalty, or the inability to fully escape the life they once lived. What this story highlights is that, even after gaining fame, artists are sometimes tethered to their past in ways that can be incredibly dangerous. The people they surround themselves with, and the environments they return to, can be just as treacherous as the ones they left behind. This isn't to blame the artists themselves, but to point out how challenging it is to truly change one's life when the streets continue to call. The lesson here is clear. Success should come with a reevaluation of the people and places we stay connected to. When possible, cutting ties with destructive influences isn't just about personal growth. Sometimes it's a matter of survival. People who rise from difficult circumstances should also rise above them. And seeking better, healthier connections should be a priority for everyone, particularly those in high-risk environments. Third lesson, the role of misinformation and media sensationalism. In the wake of young Scooter's death, rumors and misinformation quickly spread across social media. Early reports suggested that the rapper was shot by the police, leading to widespread anger, speculation, and even protests. The ensuing chaos underscores a larger societal issue: the media and public's tendency to jump to conclusions without verified facts. In this case, the Atlanta police had to hold a press conference to clarify that young Scooter was not shot by the police, but instead sustained an injury while fleeing, though the exact cause of his death remained unclear. This situation highlights the powerful, often dangerous role that media plays in shaping public perception and inciting emotions. In today's digital age, where anyone with a platform can spread information instantly, it's easy for misinformation to spread like wildfire. The lesson here is the importance of being cautious about what we believe and share, especially when it comes to serious matters like someone's life or death. The thirst for sensational stories should not outweigh the need for facts and truth. We, as a society, need to become more discerning consumers of information and avoid jumping to conclusions based on hearsay. The rush to be first with breaking news can often lead to misleading and harmful narratives that cloud the real story. Fourth lesson, the fragility of life. Scooter's death, especially on his birthday, serves as a stark reminder of the fragility and unpredictability of life. It's unsettling how, in a single moment, a day meant for celebration can turn into a nightmare. The rapper's sudden passing, while he was still engaging with fans on social media, sharing his birthday posts, shows how quickly things can change. Life is fragile, and no one is guaranteed tomorrow. For those watching, it offers a sobering perspective. Every moment is precious, and we should strive to live meaningfully, make the most of our time, and protect ourselves and others from harm. Beyond the tragedy of one individual, this broader lesson encourages us to be present in our relationships and actions. It's about realizing that life isn't guaranteed, so we should take steps to prioritize our safety, health, and emotional well-being, while also nurturing meaningful connections with those we care about. Scooter's passing highlights how fragile time is and how quickly a person's story can end, leaving nothing but unanswered questions. Fifth lesson, the need for accountability and systemic change. As much as young Scooter's death could be seen as a freak accident, there are larger systemic issues that have yet to be addressed. Atlanta, once considered a black mecca, has become a city where rappers fall prey to violence, drug addiction, and early deaths. From police interactions to the violence that runs rampant in the streets, the hip-hop community has to reckon with these grim realities. This story forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth. Certain systemic issues, whether in law enforcement, community safety, or the culture surrounding street life, are contributing factors to these tragedies. This isn't to say that there are easy solutions, but what's clear is that the culture and environment that contribute to the loss of these artists need to change. It calls for a reevaluation of the systems in place, from law enforcement tactics to the support systems for artists who may be struggling with mental health, addiction, or the pressures of fame. The industry itself also needs to reconsider how it engages with artists who come from violent backgrounds or who are still living in precarious situations. The lesson here is that when tragedies like this keep happening, we must demand change, whether through better systems of support, changes in law enforcement protocols, or a rethinking of the kind of culture that is allowed to thrive in suburban spaces. Conclusion: lessons about legacy, life, and change. In the end, the story of young Scooter's death is a painful chapter in a much larger narrative about the price of fame, the impact of the streets, and the uncertainty of life. The deaths of these artists shouldn't just be seen as tragedies. They should be a call to action for all of us. We need to reconsider how we view success, how we treat our communities, and how we handle the power of media and speculation. The lessons here are about change, about understanding the environment in which these artists operate, and about taking responsibility for the way we engage with the world around us. There is a long road ahead in terms of making real, lasting change. But if we learn from these tragedies, if we can take a hard look at the root causes of these deaths, then we might find ways to prevent the next one. Let's honor the memory of young Scooter and others by committing to making the world a better, safer place for future generations. One where talent, potential, and life are never cut short too soon.